us.
Yeah. They got a
Oh,
new guy here, Jeff. It's Tom Crumpton here. You can see him. He came on board a couple of weeks ago. Eric brought him on board, and Tom is all about business brokerage for since 1978. He's an
all
old guy.
right. Hey, Tom.
Hello there.
CCI
Old
Catalyst.
school here.
You down in New
School.
Orleans, or where are you at with Cat?
Georgia, just north of Atlanta.
Okay, great.
Hi, Fred.
Hey Keith, how you doing? How was your vacation? Your mini vacation? You're
It
up
was
in
great.
Georgia.
Visited
So,
some wineries, did Oktoberfest. Helen, Georgia is that German town. It's all about,
yeah. So that's great.
yeah.
Now, didn't you have a beard last time I saw you? Or am I
No, that would be a goatee. That's not there now. Yeah.
okay? I knew you looked different, so you look
I look
younger.
so much younger, don't I?
Fred, I think we're ready to rock and roll. So why don't you get us started? And a few people still joining, but this is going live, so a lot of people won't be joining this room. They're live on the streaming side of things. So I'll let
So you
you
ready, Jeff? Or
things
okay,
off.
ready to go? So,
Let's go. Let's welcome everybody. Jeff Finn, the CEO at RealNext, and Fred Schmidt, who's a uh, head of a really fantastic corporate services platform and valuation company in commercial real estate. We both go back, in our prior careers working together with similar companies to EXP. I was running NAI when Fred was running Coldwell Banker Commercial, and we've been working together for a long time with Jim Wong as Jim was building the EXP platform, and we have a number of services that we're working on together to deliver to the EXP community, and pleased to be sharing a couple of those with you today. Fred's going to kick us off talking about corporate services and how we have been working with the EXP team to train and organize a group to provide corporate real estate services. And then we have a special guest, David Bortnick from RI Marketplace, part of the CW Capital, that will be talking about auctions in commercial real estate, a very timely service that might benefit many of you as you work with clients that are dealing with assets that need to be disposed of, particularly as we're coming up to a year end and some that have some time pressure to try to get transactions closed, and a marketplace that's still trying to find a balance between bid and ask, and how they'll talk about how auctions can help to assure that those bids get to work with you to establish a true market value and to create transactions where there has been less liquidity than in other market cycles. So Fred, why don't you take it away, get started with the corporate services side, and then David will pick up for.
sure, Jeff. It's great to be with all of you. Good morning, everyone. And corporate. Today, I'm just going to embark on what is corporate services, how do we engage the process, and how can you avail yourself of these services. We have a group of training programs we put together to help the EXP nation with regard to that. We've been doing this since the fall of last year, and I've been pretty steadily engaged with a lot of EXP folks in terms of opportunities and going after and winning corporate services business, but also training people on how to service the fulfillment account, right? So finding the account, winning the account, and then fulfilling the account. So that's been the spectrum that we've been working on for any client, but this is that type of thing. So I'll just show you the fascinating world of corporate services. If you go to the next slide, please. And really, let's start off. What is corporate services and why, right? So first of all, corporate services is representation of occupiers or users of space on a multi-market basis. So I always use the example, like if you're representing Burger King in Florida and you're doing one Burger King, that's one transaction. But if Burger King's looking to open up 5, 10, 15, 20 locations, it's representing Burger King across that spectrum. Okay. Of my 43 years in this business, 18 have been in straight commission sales, sitting in the cubicle or a brokerage, like a lot of you. And I embarked on this in the very early stages of corporate services because that the why is the purpose here. As a straight commission salesperson, I like the idea of starting off my year knowing that I had a steady flow of income and that my costs were covered. And by winning accounts or going after the business, I knew that I had X amount of deals per year. And as most of you are aware, you start off every year at zero and you go on. Well, this kind of mitigated, it was risk mitigation for me. And it was also repeatable income streams for myself and for my organization. And it also grows your revenue base beyond your market with the expansion and growth in the network here, the XP network. It's working through a lot of different people on behalf of accounts. And you'll see a logo slide in a second, but a lot of any size client will work. So I don't want to act like it's the Fortune 50 or 100 or whatever. This is really a location with 5 accounts, like a law firm, engineering firm, anything, 5, 10, 15 locations work just as well. In fact, it's even better in terms of serving those clients as a large account. So if you're in a smaller market or a secondary market, it is. How are we doing this? Creating a service delivery mechanism, creating processes, and this is a series of processes. I'll show you a couple examples like that. There's the account side of the elements of this, running the account, the single point of contact, and then field delivery, which is the folks that are on the receiving end. So there's 2 sides to this, and we train along that. And you need to work on developing your story and our story, and then telling our story. So I spent a lot of time working on the content, but also the presentation of that information in a cohesive way to a client. And then this is all about winning business. So this is just like you'll hear from David in a little while about auctions. And by the way, we've used auctions quite a bit in my corporate services as a repertoire and disposition services. So these are different arrows in your quiver to be able to win business and serve clients. And you have a very strong team that's here. So if you go to the next couple of slides, next slide, please. You have myself and Jeff. We have between the 2 of us, we have Jeff alluded to this, 80 years of in commercial real estate services business and corporate services experience. Jeff ran NAI Global. I ran Coldwell Banker Commercial. I worked for CBRE for 22 years. So there's a wealth of experience here. These are some clients that we represented that from the NAI side that were here. That had one on the lower right there, by the way, that's the Mormon Church, okay, which was an account we both shared as companies. If you go to the next slide, this is a group of clients that I've currently worked with and are working with, and then plus over 88 retail accounts. We've gone to ICSC, and so retail is more on a regional basis than it is on a national basis. So in addition to this logo slide, there's been quite a bit of retail. Retail lends itself very well to this. I might also add for the business brokerage folks, there's opportunities as you're dealing with clients that are either in a franchising system or looking to grow. This is a platform to help you to manage that growth for clients. Next slide, please. So what is this? Building a delivery mechanism. Really what our pitch to you is training. We have 2 courses, the corporate services account development course, or account servicing, winning accounts and then servicing the account, and then corporate services designation. If you're totally new to the business or new to this part of it, it's having that designation or whatever. So we have 2 training programs and curriculums around that. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes to see if you guys want to sign up for that, or you're interested. You don't have to sign up. See if you're interested, if it makes sense for you. Technology platform, that's through the RealNext platform that Jeff operates, and that's reporting to the client, web-based reporting, 24/7, nothing new, but it's something that you have to have. And also key performance indicators, and the RealNext platform lends itself very, very well to that. A resource library, we have proposals, presentations, pricing, process charts. I mean, a whole myriad of things. There's a lot of tools and resources to be able to bring to bear on behalf of a client. Next slide, please. This is just a sample. This is called a placemat presentation. By the way, I've used these throughout my career instead of we're using PowerPoint now, and obviously if you're on Zoom, you're gonna have to. But when you're in a room with a client, a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll take the slides and put it on 11 by 17 or even on a poster and present the whole overview of pitching the account. And what it does is it lets you to jump around. If a client asks you a question, you can jump to that point. They say, tell me about your research, your org chart down here, your resources, or tell me about your forms, your process charts, or your distribution network of offices. And I can jump to that and jump right back. So it gives the client the ability to control the agenda to some extent, which is very important. Next slide. And this is a process chart. So if two charts, if you have a good process chart and a good resourcing chart and an implementation plan, I can pitch any account in the world. So these are kind of high level overviews, but these are an example of the type of tools that you have, and then the reporting and the steps in the process for acquisitions and dispositions. And you'll see in the dispositions, again, CW is going to talk about auctions and stuff, and that's a disposition process. And so you'll get a lot more detail on the benefits of that in the auctioning world overall. Okay. Most clients don't look, it's funny on this, look into the lower right in terms of selling benefits. I pitch most clients on how can I make you more productive or more profitable? They're worried about saving costs, and cost savings is a big part of this. But if you can show me how you can make me more profitable and more productive, that's an investment versus a cost. So the pitch has a nuanced pitch, but it's like we get very much into the client's world and what they're all about, which I think is one of the most fascinating parts of this business and what excites me the most. So next slide, please. So really, engaging the process, I'm going to wrap this up here, qualified training, conducting the business. What do you do with, if you identify a corporate, say you identify an account, hey, I've just done 1, 2, 3, 4 deals with XYZ Corporation. How do I mushroom this up into a larger account, into a regional or a national thing? That's the platform that you have here. You have a qualified team that can help you win that business, secure it, and then fulfill it. So that's basically what this is all about. Okay. And with that being said, next slide, please. There we go. So please, for those of you online, take a picture of, there's my contact data on the lower right, my email address and my cell phone. Please reach out to me. Tell me that if you're interested. And we're looking to set up corporate services designation courses and corporate services account. We already have done these. What I generally look for is 10 people to subscribe to it, and then we'll do the course, and I'll do it at a date and time that's convenient and works for everybody with regard to that. The courses are not real expensive. It is a live course. So because I think that interaction between us has been very profitable and fruitful. So with that being said, if there's anything you want to add to it, Jeff, that's about it for me. So.
Thanks, Fred. I think it's a real advantage. And one of the reasons we wanted to bring this and have brought this to EXP is it's a unique opportunity. There's so many of the agents in the organization have come from national platforms or have background and experience that might be dealing with multi-market clients, and others you might have come from independent firms that didn't have the benefit of national service capabilities and service delivery. So it's one thing to have the ground cover that EXP has. It's another to put the services overlay. And that's what Fred's bringing, is a services overlay that it can assure quality, consistency, and capability that you can package and then present to your clients. So it really brings you leverage and capability that you wouldn't otherwise have. And because of a platform like EXP, it's enabling you to provide a type of service that you may not have been able to in the past, or you might have been expecting, you had in the past and you didn't want to lose it. So we have both cases covered, and really happy to be working with the team to be offering that. As Fred mentioned, my focus now is on the technology side with RealNex, and we have an incredible technology tool that many of you are using and hopefully increasingly using to not just provide the marketing for properties, but your account management and technology to manage deals and manage workflows and processes and provide that reporting back to clients. And again, that's critically important to talk about what you're going to do and then to do it. And when you're dealing with multi-locations in particular, having control of that and accountability is critical. So not only do we have the people on the ground, we have the technology, and then we have the experience to both show the track record and provide the systems to assure your clients in the best hands possible when you want to leverage that across the organization. So Thank you, Fred, for that. Another part of RealNext, which is valuable to many of you, is the ability to market and showcase properties. And we have a great marketplace in RealNext to add your listings to, a capability to create your offering memos, to create your financial analysis, to create your email campaigns and distribution. And we realized that we wanted to take that a step further and to actually enable the transaction to be completed. And we've added syndication channels, one of which is RI Marketplace. So very easy from RealNext to feed your properties from RealNext or directly into RI Marketplace. But most efficiently, it's just to flow from RealNext, press a button, and your information is syndicated out to beyond the 100,000, 150,000 or so people that come to the RealNext community, to a broader community, different community that are registered with RI Marketplace, that are the most active buyers in the industry and people looking for products. So it's one, to showcase your product, but then to look at certain assets that need to have a different level, different type of approach than brokerage. And David Portnick from RI Marketplace, a part of CW Capital's here to talk about how you can make that handoff from RealNext's marketplace or from your listing and other marketing tools to give broader exposure and to accelerate marketing through the auction process. So David, let me let you take over. I'm going to bring up your slides here, and I'll walk through them. I'll drive that for you. So I know you're on the road.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. And yeah, just wanted to kind of give everyone a little bit of background on RI Marketplace. As Jeff mentioned, we're an online auction platform. We're owned and operated by CW Capital. For those of you who are not familiar with CW, we're the leading servicer of CMBS, Freddie, and Fannie debt in the country. And so for those of you who aren't as familiar with CMBS, as special servicer, our main line of business is to work out defaulted loans on behalf of the bondholders. And that's how we came to auction. So I know Fred was talking about getting to the disposition process, and that's where we stand. And so we first came to the auctions as a means to sell our own serviced assets. We found it a great systematic way to dispose of our assets with date certain execution. And it's been incredibly helpful, and we enjoy the process, and ultimately decided to build our own platform to take advantage of it. And so we launched Marketplace in 2017, and since then have done nearly $5 billion in transactions. Of course, all of CW's assets, or the vast majority, do come through Marketplace. And we're always looking for brokers and service providers throughout the country for our CW assets. But at this point, the vast majority of our deals are third-party deals. And so, you know, quickly, some of the benefits of the auction process are expanded reach, efficient timeline, supplemental marketing, a transparent process, and then certainty of closure. And I'll get into some of these a little bit now. First off, the efficient timeline with date certain execution is one of the most important benefits. Our process totals about 75 days start to finish. Starts with a 45-day marketing period, followed by a 2-day auction, and that with winning bidder placed under contract within 2 hours of auction ending, and with a hard deposit within 24 hours, and then a 30-day closing typically. So 75 days from the time you launch into the market, you and your seller have closed on the deal and are getting paid. Bidders are qualified and have to show liquidity up to the amount they want to bid. Of course, we can adjust that on larger size deals so that we can maximize our buying pool and ultimate proceeds to the seller. And as I mentioned, winning bidders placed under contract directly after auction with a hard deposit. So that really locks them in. The next advantage really is our wide marketing. So beyond just a broker's database or the typical databases that you know you might place your listing on, like, you know, RealNext gets it out wide, gets it to us. We get it out wide as well. We have a great marketing team that will create a tailored plan for every asset. So beyond just hitting our auction buyers, our database, and, you know, our active investors, which are all, you know, as I mentioned, with cash looking to place money and actively seeking the next, you know, investment, which is kind of how we got together with RealNext in the first place. We had an active database that's always seeking more properties, and we wanted to be able to offer them more. And it's been great so far. But not only will we hit our database, we're looking to find the local, regional, and national buyers and the ones who are most likely to take it down. So we will create that marketing plan for every asset, be aggressive in our marketing, and go out wide. And then throughout the process, we do have a broker dashboard. So if you launch with us, you can see throughout the process who's accessed the database, who's come, how many times they viewed it, what they're downloading, and, you know, ultimately notes. And, you know, for that deal or the future, you have access to that dashboard. So you sell a deal via auction, you can hit that database regardless of if the next deal is an auction. If it's a similar type deal, you get access to more leads. So we're going beyond, you know, wider than any broker, you know, we think individually can go, and we're providing new leads that can be used, you know, both to close the deal and in the future. And then, you know, very importantly to everybody is the certainty of closure. As I mentioned before, the auctions are predicated on upfront diligence. We provide the purchase and sale agreement upfront, a title report upfront, and all property diligence. It's all behind an electronic confidentiality agreement. As I mentioned with the broker dashboard, you can track that throughout, but you know, what it does is put everyone on a level playing field. They know the diligence, they can price all the risk in. We'll provide a phase one environmental report as well, so that they could see that the property is clean, or otherwise, you know, bake that risk into their bids, and often a property condition. And as I mentioned, they have to proof up with funds and show liquidity. So we know that they have the financial wherewithal to close the deal, to put their deposit in. We're familiar with the bidders. We get to know them. We want to make sure that they've reviewed all the diligence, and then ultimately they go 10% hard money within 24 hours. So, you know, most groups won't walk. We have an extremely high closing rate once we're under contract, and that, you know, eliminates from the traditional process, getting someone under contract, having a retrade, or having a deal fall out. So it really gives you and your seller the certainty of closure that we go through this process, we're going to get the deal done, we're going to get sold, and we're going to get our proceeds and get paid. And, you know, so those are the main, obviously, advantages to the process. There's, and importantly, and I know every broker, every seller will ask, is what's the additional cost? There's no additional cost beyond, you know, the traditional marketing process. So brokers, you guys will negotiate your listing commission with your client. We don't touch that. You hold on to that per usual, per the same process. The way we make our, as I mentioned, we'll order a phase one off of the property condition. We can do photos, we'll order a title report. None of those, and we do our own marketing plan, none of those costs are passed through to the broker or the seller, regardless of if a deal trades. So the way we make our money is at closing, we charge a 5% platform fee to the buyer. So, you know, we've had great success with it. There's no cost to the broker or seller. So we're really here to be a tool to help you guys trade more deals, to make it an efficient process, to supplement your marketing efforts, and to really supplement your sale process. And, you know, one of the important things when we launched is that we wanted to keep brokers front and center. We know having a good local broker who knows the market, who knows the asset, is going to be the key to getting the highest value, to getting the best deal. So we don't want, you know, we're here to be your guys' partner, to help make that process better and smoother, to help reach a larger audience, but not to step in the way of it, and certainly not to replace you. We just want to, you know, be an advantage that you have. And you know, ultimately this has led to us being the industry leader in terms of trade rate. I think to date, we trade 80% of the deals we take to market, which is by far the best trade rate in the industry. You know, it gives you an idea that if you take a deal with us, you have a 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10, whatever you want to call it, chance of getting the deal sold. And as I mentioned, if you do get it sold based on the hard money deposit, you know, if you do have a winning bidder at auction based on the hard money deposit, you know, that goes up to nearly 100%. You know, so 80% of the deals get to contract, and almost, all of those will close with a successful deal. And, another key with us and with CW is that we come from the seller's seat. That's kind of how we came to the process. So that's how we look at the deals. So it's not that you're just getting into a technology platform. You're getting into a team that knows real estate, that understands what the market is going to want and expect on a deal, and understands how to address it. And we also have access to our underwriting and asset management teams. And so we know that not every deal is going to be the right fit for auction, and we're here to help you guys figure that out. Whether it's a motivated seller, a deal that's been on the market that might need to breathe a little life into it, or might need a new audience, or just to create that kind of auction mentality where people know it's going to trade, and that creates life into the deal. Or whether, it's a value add asset that we know groups are chasing, and, the auction is going to provide a transparent, competitive bidding process that will help you get top dollar. We're here to help you determine whether or not it's the right fit. And so once Jeff gets the last slide, I think there's an email address. We encourage you guys, if you have any listings that you think might be a fit for auction, whether it's, any of those reasons I mentioned or anything else, to send us the deal. We'll hop on a phone call with you. We'll learn about the asset. We might request some materials, and then we'll work with, ourselves based on what we've transacted on, our underwriting, our asset management team, and we'll come back to you with our thoughts on how we would expect it to perform in an auction, what the expected trade range would be, where we would recommend setting the reserve. We'll give you our thoughts on it. If it's helpful with your clients, we could put a write-up together. For some people, that it's just another good market. Worst case scenario, it's just a good, market data point. So it's another thing that you can take to your, another tool in your belt that you could take to your seller and say, we've explored this, we've gotten additional market feedback, here's what they think, and then either yes, they think it would perform very well at auction, or this one probably isn't meant for auction, and we're kind of here to help you determine that. And so that's really kind of the long and that's kind of the summary of who we are and what we do, and we'd love to work with any of you. Like I said, don't be shy about sending us deals. We're happy to look at it as part of our process as brokers. Obviously, you guys know that's part of your process also. So very similarly, we're happy to do it and help make that determination. And hopefully we can work together with some of you and help get your deal sold and make some money together.
David, what you didn't mention, I know it often comes up as a question, and we are open for questions. So thank you very much for that overview, both Fred and David. So questions on either side. But David, it often comes up, what is a sweet spot of an asset that obviously the common thread is urgency, seller motivation, and desire to get the level of market exposure to create a timely liquidity event. But is there a size or property type or other that the team should be looking for or thinking about, or thinking about maybe it's not most appropriate? I know you're open to all for a review, but any guidance on what they might be thinking about?
Sure. So of course, I don't want to go too narrow on it. Like, I know, Jeff, that's what you were hinting at. I'd say a couple things. One, we price it. We work with you guys to give that feedback. If we think we're in the right zone, then we're, I'd say 80% confident we could get a deal done. So regardless of what the deal is, we believe if it's priced right and marketed aggressively and correctly, then we could get a deal done. But to answer your question more specifically, hotels do extremely well on auction. They were some of the first adoptees. Any cash flowing value add deal, there's an extremely large appetite from our investor database, from the typical auction buyer that says, all right, there's some cash flow to this deal, and there's some room to, there's some value add components. And those get, extremely, get bidding wars, and people are chasing those deals. And then, and that could come in a number of forms. And we'll help determine that piece to it. And then, I'd say sub $5 million is where, with the auction and maybe up to 10 is where the auction, especially in today's, high interest rate environment, you have groups with cash looking to place deals. These deals are not financing contingent. Groups have to show us the liquidity. So it's a great way to trade in today's environment where getting loans, getting financing has been a little bit tougher. You can get your deals in front of groups that have the cash to close, that are aggressively seeking deals. And not to say larger deals, we get creative. We find ways to introduce leverage. We don't make it contingent on it, but we get creative in terms of how we contract around it and giving buyers extra time with extra deposit or with a release of deposit. But ultimately, yeah, I'd say kind of sub $5 right now, especially sub $5 million value add deals, and then ultimately being priced right is the key for our auction process. And as I mentioned with our valuation, we can help provide that feedback to help make sure deals are being priced right with sellers.
So you've got the information on the screen to contact David and his team. I mean, it's an incredible resource bench that you have access to. It's not just David, but a number of his teammates, as he mentioned. They are managers of billions and billions of dollars worth of CMBS assets. And they see all types of properties all over the country all the time and have real-time perspective on what's happening in the market. So it's an incredible resource that's available to you to help in that initial evaluation. And then the level of expertise that they provide because of the volume and the portfolios that they worked on to know where to go for that. And as he mentioned, I want to make sure this resonates. We often have found that sellers, particularly when they run into distress in a situation, have an SPV for that property, and there's no money in that SPV to market that property. So they may want to sell it, but they, and you don't want to put the money out. They don't have the money to put out, or they don't want to invest in it. But RI, the CW team actually will invest in the marketing to give it targeted exposure for that particular asset class. It's not just a broadcast to their existing community, but it's identifying appropriate media, and whether it's billboard or advertising or other, in that market to identify appropriate new bidders to come into the community to bid on that asset. And then, again, there's one high bidder, and there's, I think the last couple of slides ago, there were 16 others that raised their hand, maybe 100 that said they were interested, and 16 that might have become bidders. Those all leads are yours. So it's an incredible way to get additional exposure, to sell a transaction, and to tee up future transactions with others, and to create transactions where there might not be one because no one has the ability to give it the exposure. And you want to get these transactions done before they go back to the lenders. The other one other point in that is we found in my background, Fred might have seen it as well. Is that you may know the buyer already, but he's not, or that buyer is not motivated to act aggressively because there's no reason to act today. And so often a property will sit and the buyer is right next door, or a neighboring property owner, but they'd rather buy it next year if they could. And when you put an auction sign up and you tell the market that it's going to auction, that person comes to market very quickly and may even preemptively bid on it and take it down. So
yeah, Jeff, I just wanted to add a footnote, a point to that. And as David was speaking of, history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And we're moving into, I'm not going to say a recession, but certainly where we'll have distressed properties and assets. And we have done, and we'll probably do again, a lot of business with the banking sector. And when they're looking for a quick movement of a property and a disposition, this is an arrow in your quiver. The CW, this auction process works very well in that sector. David was talking about value add and those elements. this is coming, unfortunately, but maybe it's a changes opportunity either way. And so servicing that sector, this type of process and this disposition method works very well and lends itself well to that. So.
Any final questions?
Absolutely, that's how we came to it. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's how we found it.
And it's from a Real Nexus perspective, we did investigate the market and found that RI had not only the best process and approach, but the highest closing rate and success rate. And we found that often there were retrades or deals falling out with other platforms that just made them, they may have sounded good, but didn't get the level of results that we had expected, and been really delighted with the relationship and the opportunity that's presented to the EXP agents to bring this to their clients. Eric, did you have a question? It seemed like you popped up, or anyone else? Nelson, anything before we wrap up?
I do have a question because I don't really have that much experience with auctions, but isn't there like a minimum bid that you can, say, hey, we won't sell it for less than X? Is that generally a part of an auction?
Yeah, one of the first things we do is agree to a reserve price. So, if you submit a property, bring a property our way, and we dig in for value, and we, give you our expected trade range and recommended reserve, there's no requirement, obviously, to bring the property on from either, from our standpoint or, broker or seller standpoint. But what we want to do is make sure we're in line, agree to a reserve price. And so then, once we do that, and that's part of our simple paperwork, but there's no obligation to sell below the reserve price. So, seller, if you got up and near, a seller could still make the choice to, okay, well, they created a market, the market spoke, let's do this. Or, there's no obligation to sell unless you're at that reserve price.
Thank you.
That's the one other point I think you made, but just to reiterate it, the market is the market. And some of your sellers or owners of assets may think the market is last year's market when it's not. And the ability to demonstrate to them that it's not just what you say, but that we are going to give this asset broad market exposure. We're going to create a competitive environment, and we are going to bring the market to the table, and the market will set the price. And that is what the price is. So as much as they might want it to be a 3 cap, the market now is 6, 7, whatever the number is in today's market. And when you have a competitive environment and bidding for that asset, that does set the price, and it brings sellers to earth. And it also comforts them to know that they got what it's worth. It's not just what somebody said it's worth, but it's what it is actually worth based on a full market exposure and a bidding environment. Well, appreciate everyone joining. Unless there's any other questions, or Fred, any closing comments? David, any closing comments?
I look forward to working with all of you. Feel free to reach out to us and let us know your interest. And I have already had a couple of folks respond already, so I'll get back to you. So, but no, it's great to be with you.
Reach out to David with your opportunities and let them do their underwriting and give you some thoughts on how they can assist. David, thank you very much for taking the time and sharing, and everyone for attending.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, everyone.